ladies. So great to meet you. How are you doing today?
Good. Hi, how are you?
We're happy to be here.
Yes.
Oh, great. I'm excited to be here too. I'm excited to talk about the show. It's so much fun. It does the thing that genre TV does that I love best, which is present like a fun kind of story, but really you're talking about really important like societal and cultural things. So for you, Julie, first of all, what was it about this franchise or this IP that you decided you wanted to develop this?
Well, I've been a fan of this book series since about 2007, I think, when the first book came out, and had read it for pleasure well before The Vampire Diaries was in my brain. And so it was something that at the time I read it, I would have happily turned it into a TV series, but I hadn't really turned anything into a TV series yet. So I don't think anybody was like knocking down my door just that early. But over the years, I kept thinking like, how could I find my way back to this without really cannibalizing this genre that I've already worked, in so many layers in. And so I went back and I reread the books and realized there's so much here that is so different than any of the stories I told in Vampire Diaries and any of the way that they were told in Vampire Diaries. Like, this is truly, I started reading it thinking this was Bridgerton with vampires, but by the end of our experience adapting it, it's the Hunger Games. It is really, truly a powerful story about trying to target a society that is imposing all kinds of rules on people based on who they are, and the kind of spark of revolution, as you saw in the beginning, that ignites these two young women into realizing, wait a second, maybe we haven't been asking the right questions about the way that we're supposed to be living our lives.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating, and I agree. Like it's so timely. That's the thing that really struck me, is how timely the story is, and the way that it gets at these things by kind of flipping power dynamics. So for you, Marguerite, when you were adapting this, when you were writing this, what were the aspects of the story that you were like, okay, these are priorities, these are things that I need to get in and really speak to?
Well, for sure, outside of even the politics, but the politics is what drew me in. I sort of pay attention to, I'm like one of those people who like quietly reads about royals. And part of it is just because I like the gossip. And part of it is it's really the power of all of that and the power of the political structure here versus somewhere else. And so I'm interested in that. For sure, at the base of it, though, was this female friendship that is so core. And we talk about it. We've been friends for almost 20 years and what that means and how the world can test that. How the world, as the world goes through changes, it tests those core friendships. And you've seen with the last many years in this country, there's families that aren't eating Thanksgiving dinner together anymore. So it's like, what does that do? What does the big political picture do, which I'm fascinated by, but how does it affect individual lives? And how do those individuals push against it? What's the power to change it? And what do they do? And what does the test bring out of them?
Yeah. And, if you go back and look at the book series, there's not a lot of overt queer representation in the book series itself. And so one of the first things that we said to each other when we pulled a writer's room together is, okay, well, we've got to be really committed to that. In this day and age, that is something that needs to be represented in the best of possible ways on screen all the time. And so we had the best time making decisions about where we would be allowing a queer dynamic to flourish. And really had a really wonderful time writing those relationships, writing those characters and casting those characters. And it added to the richness of the ensemble, a show that is very much, about class in general and elitism and prejudice and all those things. So it let us shine a very happy light on that community.
Yeah, I love that about it. I mean, because it was always a series that like felt really queer, but never was.
Yeah.
So learning that you were adapting and adding that, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I wanted to kind of quickly, I know we're getting close to the end of our time here, but I wanted to circle back to what you said about people not connecting right now and it being timely. Is one of the things that really I love about it is there's a supernatural connection between Lissa and Rose, but ultimately it's about empathy. It's like supreme empathy. And I think that's like a balm for our current times. Is that something that you really were thinking about when you were doing it.
Yes, and yes. I think one of my favorite moments in the first episode is when the girls talk about meeting each other for the first time when they were like 6 years old, and Lissa just says, you were there all alone on Family Day.
I know.
And that's the thing, it's a story of two little girls who didn't know yet that they were being raised to live different paths and that they would eventually be in a situation where people would be actively working against their friendship and their bond. In that moment of pure, empathy and connection, Lissa saw a loneliness in Rose and knew that Rose needed that loneliness filled. And that was the match that, that lit the spark of their friendship, which is the engine of the entire series.
Yeah, I saw it. I loved it. I appreciate it. I needed it. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. The show is great. I cannot wait for people to see it. I'm very excited to see what happens next.
Oh, thank you so much.